What up, world? I'm a little behind, but here's my October movie talk with the date that Marty McFly went to the future, coming around, and is in the past now. And the Cinemark Theater that I live by played the entire Back to the Future trilogy at the theater, and I watched it, and it was dope as fuck. And it got me in the mood to talk about trilogies for my movie talk, because I was gonna do Sandra Bullock because the Crisis, Our Brand is Crisis, came out. I wasn't gonna see it, but I was gonna talk about Sandra Bullock, and then I was going through her movies, and I can only claim 5 Sandra Bullock movies: The Heat, Demolition Man, The Blind Side, Gravity, and Speed. So I decided to talk about trilogies, and I'm gonna throw a disclaimer out there before I jump into this. When I was coming up with the list, I didn't consider the Cornetto trilogy. It didn't even cross my mind because it's not 3 movies in a series; it's an unofficial trilogy. And then the Lord of the Rings trilogy didn't make my list because I haven't watched those 3 movies recently enough. I know they're good. I know they're great. Consider them an unofficial piece of this list, but I don't remember them that in depth to really talk about them. And then like the first 3 diehards, like I wanted to put Die Hard on the list, but I don't I don't feel like 2 is a strong enough entry. And then I wanted to include the American Pie trilogy, and it could have been on here, but like for example, like my number 10 beat it out for sentimental nostalgic reasons. And then the Men in Black trilogy. I love the first Men in Black. It's a classic. On my shelf in my house, the original Men in Black is a classic. And I like 2 and I like 3, but I don't think 2 is a strong enough entry. So at number 10, I got the Austin Powers trilogy. I love these movies, man. I grew up on these movies, man. These movies molded a lot of my sense of humor. I could spend like 25 minutes just doing Austin Powers impressions, and it just, man, like these movies are hilarious. My only gripe about these movies, just like the Friday trilogy, the bigger the budget, I feel like the worse they got, because I love the look and the feel of the first movie, and then you could tell more money was put into the second one, and you could tell more money was put into Goldmember, and then you could say, like I said, I like all 3, and you could argue that 2 is as good as 1. Goldmember, while hilarious, is a step down from the first 2. At number 9, I got the Matrix trilogy. The Matrix was a game changer. First movie changed cinema, was parodied for years, and brought Keanu Reeves back, I guess, because he had Bill and Ted, he had Point Break, he had Speed, and then he was trying to find his footing. If you ask me, man, he did Johnny Mnemonic, he did A Walk in the Clouds or something. And then the Matrix, man, like everybody instantly knew, like John Wick today, like John Wick did it again. But the Matrix, man, one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever, and like the Wachowskis have not had a hit since. And then I don't care. I like the Matrix Reloaded. Like that fight with like 100 agents, 100 Agent Smiths. I love that shit. And say what you will about Revolutions, it still has dope fights. The whole Neo goes blind and everybody looks like they're on fire or whatever. I mean, it is what it is, man. Um, Aaliyah was supposed to be in 2 and 3, but then she passed away. I think Jada Pinkett took her spot. Um, and then Roy Jones Jr. is in one of the sequels, if not both of them. Great sci-fi, great action, man. I love the Matrix trilogy. Number 8 is kind of a cheat, but kind of not, because it got a 4th way after the third one, way after we thought it was just going to be a trilogy, and that's Scream. Like I said, with Men in Black, Scream is a classic. Like just like a Nightmare on Elm Street, man. Wes Craven, R.I.P. Wes Craven reinvented the horror movies, reinvented slasher genre again. And this time, I felt like it was scarier because it was more realistic. Like, it wasn't somebody in your dreams fucking with you. It was human beings in costumes killing people, man. Like, killing their friends. And And then Scream 2, man, Scream 2 is one of the best horror sequels ever. And it came out a year after the first one. Um, my only complaint with 2 is that they killed my boy Randy. And then 3, once again, you could say that 3 is sloppy, 3 is whatever. I love Scream 3 for the fact that it attempts to tie everything up. It attempts to tie everything back to the first one, and it gave the killers from the first movie a motivation, or like, a reason like why they were doing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's 15 years old, so I shouldn't be hesitant to spoil it. But just in case ain't nobody seen it, and then, but I could even talk about how good Scream 4 is. What I will not talk about is the fucking MTV show. I've not seen an episode, but as soon as I saw The Mask, I was uninterested. At number 7, and probably my most controversial ranking, the original Star Wars trilogy. A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. They're this low because I'm not a Star Wars fanboy. I respect Star Wars, and as The Force Awakens is coming out, I've rewatched the whole series, and I still have Return of the Jedi to go. I like them, and I don't geek out over them like I do things higher in my list. Like, everybody loves Luke, man. Han Solo is one of the greatest characters ever, and he did shoot first. Vader is one of the best villains of all time, and it's great movie making, man. I like the prequels, but no way in hell they were gonna make this list. But I want The Force Awakens to be what all Star Wars fans have been craving, and to put Star Wars back in the echelon of excitement, because while like a lot of Star Wars fans tolerate the prequels, a lot of people hate them, and I want The Force Awakens to be like worldwide love. You know what I mean? At number 6, I got the Bourne trilogy. Check me out, man. Great spy movies based on books. Matt Damon. This is what made Matt Damon a badass. In the Bourne Identity, he beats a dude's ass with an ink pen. In the second movie, I think he beats a dude's ass with a wash rag, a fucking wash rag like that big. And in the Bourne Ultimatum, he whoops a dude's ass with a book. And it's great acting, great story. It keeps you intrigued all the way through. I'm so glad that Greengrass and Damon are coming back for 5. But at the same time, I want a Bourne movie that puts Jeremy Renner and Matt Damon together, either against each other or teaming together. They have to team together, like against Treadstone or whatever, right? At number 5, another kind of a cheat. Another series that didn't get its 4th movie until damn near 20 years later. And that's Indiana Jones. We named the dog Indiana. Horrible, horrible Sean Connery, but I tried. Once again, Indiana Jones is one of the coolest movie characters of all time. Harrison Ford has played a lot of the coolest characters of all time. If I'm not mistaken, he played the only successful Jack Ryan. But it's like, come on, man. Like, Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the best movies of the 80s, one of Spielberg's best movies. That boulder, him running from that boulder is iconic. It was Alfred Molina's first movie. And then Temple of Doom, while a lot of people don't like Temple of Doom, and it throws a lot of people off that Temple of Doom takes place before Raiders, it's still real dope. Okie dokie, Dr. Jones. Like, Short Round. Everybody remembers Short Round. And then Last Crusade with the Holy Grail and his dad. Everybody loves Raiders and Last Crusade. Most people like Temple of Doom, if I'm not mistaken. I love 1 and 3. I like 2. I tolerate 4. And then with recent news that they're not gonna recast for a 5th movie, like, Harrison Ford is already getting up there. I mean, if he can come back as Han Solo, why can't he come back one more time as Indiana Jones? But what they're gonna do for a 5th movie is so, like, what could they possibly do? At number 4, I got The Godfather, because it's this low because of my top 3, obviously, and it's this high because 1 and 2 are so strong that I don't think 3 is garbage. They just took too long to make it. The Godfather is so iconic, man. It's like there would be no Scarface, no Goodfellas, no no American Gangster, no Carlito's Way, no Road to Perdition. Man, there would be such a lack of gangster mafia movies without The Godfather and Don, Marlon Brando stuffing the cotton in his cheeks or whatever, and Francis Ford Coppola, man, like all of it just came together so perfect. It's just respect with the Don, man. Like he don't raise his voice, he pulled the strings, and he don't raise his voice, and then you see the conversion of war hero Michael Corleone to the Don of the family, and then part two, the way it ties together the past with Robert De Niro playing young Vito, voice of the young people. I ain't even gonna get into spitting no Jay-Z for y'all. And then just all the like political court shit that Mike is going through in the present. And then three made a hell of an attempt to try to tie together Mike's story. It just, you know what I mean? I could tolerate three, man. I think three is watchable, but one and two were just so strong that with a weak-ish three, it has to be this high on my list. At number three, the inspiration for the list, man, Back to the Future. Like, I love all three of these movies. I love all three of these movies. Um, like, one is perfect. The original Back to the Future is perfect. If in my opinion, if one is a 10 out of 10, then 2 and 3 are 9.5s. I don't think 2 and 3 had that many flaws either. Like you see how shitty the alternate 1985 is when Biff has a sports almanac, and people knock the second one because he goes back to 1955 to get the sports almanac, and you see him doing things that he did in the first movie, and oh, I just saw this in the other movie, so it's kind of like making me lose interest. I'm not losing interest, man, because in 1955, when Marty could possibly run into himself, like that's excitement to me. And when there are a couple of people like Biff or anybody else that sees both of them at separate times or whatever, and then like has a little deja vu feeling, like that's funny to me. And the attempt to get the sports almanac from Mr. Strickland, finding Strickland in alternate 85 with the rifle, talking about the school burned down however many years ago. And then like I think it's dope how 2 and 3 were shot back to back because of the references. Like they bring up things in part 2 that you don't see until the end of part 3. And then like Biff is watching a movie in part 2 that Marty uses to inspire his shootout with Mad Dog in 3, and the intertwine and the connections. And they never explain how Doc put the time machine together at the very end of 3, but I let that pass. I love the Back to the Future trilogy. At number 2, I got the Toy Story trilogy. Like part 1 is perfect. I will give part 2, I will give Toy Story 2 like a 9.5 because I'm for my next movie talk video, I'm doing my top 10 favorite Pixar movies, and I'm watching Toy Story 2, and these toys figure out a way to drive to the airport. Took me out of it a little bit. I mean, maybe because I'm older, maybe because I'm watching it through like critic eyes. I don't know. I'm not trying to criticize. I watch it through critic eyes. And it just took me out of it for a second. Other than that, man, Toy Story 2 is great. And then, man, Toy Story 3, man. Toy Story 3 might be the greatest part 3 ever. You just see Andy grown up, and you feel like the toys all feel like it's over, man. We just collecting dust in a toy box, man. Like, they about to throw us away. Like, what do we do? And when Andy, like, if you didn't tear up when Andy gave his toys away to, what's her name, Molly or Mindy, or whatever her name is, man. Like, you have no soul, man. Like, my eyes got watery when he gave his toys to the little girl at the very end of Toy Story 3. And then my number 1, like, I've told y'all my favorite movie of all time a million times over the years I've done this channel. The Dark Knight trilogy is my favorite trilogy ever. Like, Batman Begins got the origin story trend in motion. Without Batman Begins, there's no J.J. Abrams Star Trek. There's no Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes. There's no Rise of the Planet of the Apes. There's no Casino Royale. There's no Daniel Craig Casino Royale. Christian Bale was a dope Batman. Liam Neeson was a dope villain. Cillian Murphy, who popped up in all three movies, like Christopher Nolan. Like this series is what put Christopher Nolan into the popular spotlight, man, because he did The Dark Knight, and then he did Inception, and then that's when like The Dark Knight and Inception, he started getting all this like Oscar buzz, and then Interstellar, and like The Dark Knight, he like everybody knows about The Dark Knight, man. Heath Ledger. It's a crime movie more than a comic movie, man, for real. And then The Dark Knight Rises. It's a bit of a step down. It's a bit of a back step. It's a bit of a regression from Dark Knight, but like Tom Hardy still shut it down as Bane. I mean, he's on par. He's not a better villain, but he was on par with Heath Ledger's Joker. He was memorable as hell, if not for that voice, man, just for the terror that he put on Gotham City. Like, he had Gotham run amok, man. It was terror in the streets, man. Villains, cops versus villains was about to go to battle. Batman had time to ignite that Batman fire sign on that building. Anne Hathaway shut it down as Catwoman. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, everybody was like, oh, he's going to be the new Batman. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is going to be the new Nightwing or whatever. And for anybody confused, man, Ben Affleck Batman has nothing to do with the Dark Knight trilogy. So what are some of y'all favorite trilogies, man? There's so many that I didn't mention. There's so many that could have made my list, man. Like the Ocean's trilogy. You could have the original Jurassic Park trilogy, the original Mad Max trilogy. Trilogies that I'm anticipating could make this list in the future if I redo this list, or after Captain America Civil War comes out. The Captain America trilogy could easily make this list and be high. And then the second new X-Men trilogy, First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, easily could make this shit. So after The Good Dinosaur comes out, I will do my favorite Pixar movies. Next week, I'm going to watch the Peanuts movie, and I'm going to watch Spectre. The week after that, I don't think anything comes out. So I'm going to do 2 reviews next week, and then Hunger Games and The Night Before come out. And November's going to go by fast, man. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever, social media, man. Peace.